माननीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी और सम्मानित अतिथियों, आज यहाँ आपका स्वागत करते हुए मुझे बेहद खुशी हो रही है। हम ऐतिहासिक क्षणों के साक्षी बनने जा रहे हैं। आज हम हिंदुस्तान टाइम्स का शताब्दी समारोह मना रहे हैं। इस मौके पर प्रधानमंत्री जी विशेष करके आपका स्वागत है। पहले मैं आपको 100 वर्ष पीछे ले चलना चाहती हूँ। वह साल 1920 था जब महात्मा गांधी ने असहयोग आंदोलन शुरू किया था। समूचे देश में उस समय परिवर्तन की क्रांतिकारी लहर बह रही थी। बस एक कमी थी और वह थी एक अच्छे अंग्रेज़ी अखबार की जो समाज की सोच को जगजाहिर कर सके। उसी माहौल में सितंबर 1924 की एक शाम नई दिल्ली में कुछ राष्ट्रवादी अकालियों ने एक अंग्रेज़ी अखबार का प्रकाशन आरंभ किया था। इस अखबार के शुभारंभ के लिए गांधी जी से बेहतर भला कौन हो सकता था। प्रधानमंत्री जी, शताब्दी वर्ष में भी हिंदुस्तान टाइम्स आज भी एक यंग अखबार है। एक ऐसा अखबार जो भारत की युवा आबादी को एक्सप्रेशन देने में कभी पीछे नहीं रहता। यह हमारे गाइडिंग प्रिंसिपल्स का हिस्सा है। हमारे देश और इस अखबार का अतीत एक दूसरे से जुड़ा हुआ है। हमारे न्यूज़रूम में हमेशा इंडिया फर्स्ट की भावना को पहला स्थान दिया है। आज हम सन 2047 में विकसित भारत के संकल्प की पूर्णता के लिए कमिटेड हैं। प्रधानमंत्री जी, ऐतिहासिक अवसर पर हिंदुस्तान टाइम्स पर डाक टिकट रिलीज़ करने के लिए आपको दिल से धन्यवाद देती हूँ। हमारी लंबी यात्रा का यह एक माइलस्टोन है। हम अमृत काल से शताब्दी काल की ओर बढ़ते भारत के साथ कदम ताल करने के लिए दृढ़ संकल्प हैं। प्रधानमंत्री जी, आपने शताब्दी काल की बिल्कुल परफेक्ट व्याख्या की है। आत्मनिर्भर भारत, विकसित भारत और विश्व गुरु भारत। समय के साथ बहुत कुछ बदला है, पर अगर कुछ कायम है तो वह है सर्वश्रेष्ठ पत्रकारिता के प्रति हमारा कमिटमेंट। मैं यहाँ एक उदाहरण देना चाहूँगी। सन 1941 में महात्मा गांधी के पुत्र देवदास गांधी हमारे संपादक थे। वे हिंदुस्तान टाइम्स के सबसे लंबे समय तक संपादक भी रहे। एक आलेख के सिलसिले में उन पर मुकदमा चला। कोर्ट ने आदेश दिया कि या तो वो जुर्माना अदा करें अथवा जेल जाएं। उन्होंने सिर्फ इसलिए जेल जाना कबूल किया क्योंकि उस रिपोर्ट को लिखने वाले कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट को जज ने जुर्माने का विकल्प नहीं दिया था। उसे हर हाल में जेल जाना था और संपादक के नाते देवदास गांधी उसका साथ नहीं छोड़ना चाहते थे। इस विरासत को हमने आज तक संजो रखा है। प्रधानमंत्री जी, निजी तौर पर मेरे लिए ये बेहद भावुक क्षण है क्योंकि हिंदुस्तान टाइम्स हमेशा हमारे परिवार के लिए बहुत ख़ास रहा है। मेरे दादा जीडी बिड़ला ने महात्मा गांधी के आग्रह पर हिंदुस्तान टाइम्स की जिम्मेदारी संभाली थी। वे गांधी जी के करीबी सहयोगी थे। गांधी जी दिल्ली में हमारे आवास पर ही ठहरते थे। ये अखबार जीडी बिड़ला के लिए न केवल राष्ट्र की आवाज़ था, बल्कि ऐसा धर्मयुद्ध था जो संकट के समय में पूरे देश को एकजुट रखने में सेतु की भूमिका अदा करता था। जब मेरे पिता के बिड़ला ने हिंदुस्तान टाइम्स का दायित्व संभाला, तब भी यही सोच कायम रही। आज़ादी के बाद उनकी लीडरशिप में हिंदुस्तान टाइम्स नए मजबूत और डेमोक्रेटिक भारत के निर्माण में मुखर पार्टनर बना रहा। हम आज भी हिंदुस्तान टाइम्स को देश की आवाज़ के रूप में देखते हैं। इस मिलेनियम में कदम रखने के साथ हमारी कंपनी ने खुद को बदला है। हम अपने कारोबार में विविधता ला रहे हैं। हमने FM रेडियो स्टेशन, देश के सबसे प्रतिष्ठित बिजनेस पेपर और वेबसाइट मिंट और लाइव मिंट के साथ कई डिजिटल और फिज़िकल इनिशिएटिव्स लॉन्च किए हैं। यहाँ हमारा हिंदी दैनिक हिंदुस्तान का जिक्र जरूरी है। अपने प्रकाशन के 88 वर्ष में हिंदुस्तान 5 हिंदी भाषी राज्यों की विशाल आबादी के हितों की रक्षा के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है। HT ने शताब्दी वर्ष में देश में कई शहरों में हम छात्रों के लिए हमने नेशनल डिबेट की मेज़बानी कर रहे हैं। इस मौके पर हमने एक फ़ोटोग्राफ़ी प्रतियोगिता भी शुरू की है। इसमें बड़ी संख्या से लोग के देश अलग अलग हिस्सों को एक्सप्लोर करते हुए अपने द्वारा खींची गई तस्वीरें भेज रहे हैं। ये बेहतरीन सुझाव खुद प्रधानमंत्री जी की ही देन है। हम पत्रकारिता के क्षेत्र में छात्रों के लिए फेलोशिप भी घोषित करने जा रहे हैं। प्रधानमंत्री जी, आपके नेतृत्व में भारत ने तेज़ी से प्रगति की है। आज यह दुनिया की 5वीं बड़ी इकोनॉमी है और अगले चंद वर्षों में हम तीसरी सबसे बड़ी इकोनॉमी बन जाएंगे। आपने आम आदमी के संस्कार और बुनियादी सुविधाओं पर गजब का काम किया है। रूरल जोग्राफीज़ में महिलाओं के एम्पावरमेंट के साथ इंफ्रा डेवलपमेंट में जमकर काम हुआ है। एक तरफ हम गति शक्ति मिशन के साथ बुलेट और रैपिड ट्रेन्स को बढ़ावा दे रहे हैं, तो दूसरी तरफ स्पेस में भी छलांग लगा रहे हैं। आपकी प्रधानमंत्री गरीब कल्याण अन्न योजना को समूची दुनिया में सराहना मिली है। डिजिटल इंडिया का आपका सपना भी तेज़ी से साकार हो रहा है। आज विश्व के 46% डिजिटल पेमेंट भारत में किए जाते हैं। अब हम समूची दुनिया के सामने सर उठाकर कह सकते हैं कि हमने ये अचीवमेंट डेमोक्रेसी के सर्वोच्च सिद्धांतों पर चलकर हासिल किया है। हमारा लोकतंत्र सत्यम शिवम सुंदरम के भारतीय कॉन्सेप्ट पर आधारित है। प्रधानमंत्री जी, आज इतिहास के साक्षात्कार के इन गरिमापूर्ण लम्हों में मैं आपको भरोसा दिलाना चाहती हूँ कि हिंदुस्तान टाइम्स इंडिया फर्स्ट की अपनी 100 साल पुरानी नीति पर चलते हुए नए भारत के निर्माण में अपनी सकारात्मक भूमिका अदा करता रहेगा। यही हमारा ध्येय है और यही धर्म भी। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।
Dr. Jaishankar needs no introduction. He is a very well-known face, and strangely enough, because you normally don't expect foreign ministers to do this, but strangely enough, he's also the subject of many viral videos and memes, and the number of people who get WhatsApp forwards featuring Dr. Jaishankar is staggering. So I think it's a very, very unique position for a foreign minister. Thank you for being here in this very special Hindustan Times Leadership Summit. It's our 100th anniversary, the centenary of Hindustan Times. You travel around the world. What is the outside-in perspective of India right now?
Mr. Kumar, first of all, let me say what a great pleasure it is to be here, and my congratulations, my felicitations on this important anniversary.
Thank you.
How does the world see India? Well, look, I guess to some degree they look at the political stability in India at a time when the world is actually undergoing a lot of political instability. Particularly, I think, in democratic societies today, it's not easy to get re-elected, and to be re-elected twice is a very big deal. I think they also look at us economically. Again, the world's pretty challenging, to be in that 7-8% zone, and not just be in the zone as a one-off, but you have like decades ahead. And there's a lot of business enthusiasm today, investment enthusiasm today for India, a lot of interest. That I would say is two. Three, the technology, and to some extent, what the PM spoke about, the talent side. The sense today that actually the world is poised to enter this era of AI, of chips, of space, of drones, and you're going to need countries and partners who are of relevance here. And this is partly also linked to the supply chain diversification and the digital partnership issue. The fourth, I would say, is actually demography. because I mean, for me, it's been interesting last few years, the number of foreign ministers or government leaders who have expressed interest in finding pathways, for Indians to work or to study or to, in some way contribute. That has grown. In fact, even historically, immigration suspicious societies. Today, I guess because of the, their own demographic challenges are looking at us very differently. And finally, my sense is the world's also expecting more from India. That is also a challenge for our foreign policy, that if you are the fifth or hopefully better, then the world has a different expectation from India, which was 10th or 15th, than it is when you are 5th.
Like what? What would it expect?
Well, it depends. I think today neighbors expect that in times of trouble we will stand by them. Beyond neighborhood, people expect in some way you would help. So if you have a situation in the Gulf, or you have a natural disaster in Africa, or something in Southeast Asia, there were days when most expectations were pegged around the US and to some extent Europe, you can say the developed world. I think those have pared down because other changes are taking place in the world. And there is a search for more local or fraternity solutions. And there are a lot of expectations of India. It could be in a crisis, but it could also be in terms of development. I mean, people feel the world's very cognizant of what we have achieved digitally. So this idea, India is not just seen as tech working for other people. It's also an embrace of technology by Indian society and the improvements of governance which have taken place. There's a lot of interest in other parts of the world saying, we'd like to work with your companies or work with your government to figure out. So therefore, bigger contributions, greater responsibilities, more economic interest, more political respect. Even in conflict situations, maybe a sense, okay, where are you and can you, what are you doing about it? So it's a combination of all of this.
Great. That was a loosener. I mean, Dr. Jaishankar, like most Indians, likes cricket. So that was a slow full toss outside the off stump so that he could get his eye in. And now for the more meaty part of the discussion. The US election is over and Trump is won. Not only has he won, he's got the House, he's got the Senate. What does this election tell us about America, and how do you expect a new Republican administration to reshape the US?
Well, I think the election tells us a lot about America. For starters, it tells us that the initial, the reasons why Trump won the first term, many of those concerns and priorities have actually intensified in these years. They have not gone away. So therefore, if Trump is getting larger numbers, it also means that those very trends which drive it have become much more serious. So what are those trends? I think it is a concern in America that globalization has been harmful. Globalization is currently there, has not served American interest, has been in many ways detrimental or harmful to different segments of American society. It has made them less secure, both psychologically and in terms of conceptually how they view the nation. It's also made them, I think, rethink about the terms of engagement with the world. That, a time when America felt it was big enough and empowered enough and resourced enough to actually take care of every global problem. I think that era is behind. I mean, Americans today are asking themselves, saying, if things are broke at home, why are my resources going outside to fix it?
Yeah, you've spoken about those.
Yeah.
Dominance and generosity, those were the terms that you used.
So America is asking hard questions of American leaders and in a sense of American policies over the last few decades. So to a great extent, I would say the verdict is also a reflection on the outcomes of policies which many previous American presidents pursued, certainly in the last 20 odd years.
You have said this before, like I said, you've warned about the US turning inwards. This is something that has also come at a time when China is becoming very, very assertive globally. Will an insular US posture affect us in some way?
No. Hang on. You use two words, inwards and insular. I think you are somewhat misreading what I am saying. The United States is seeking, President Trump is seeking to reset the terms. That doesn't mean he's turning his back on the world. He's telling the world that, there's a different deal on offer, that your access to the American economy, your expectation of American resources and activities, the cost to America, all these will change. So I think it's very important, because look, there are debates in America, like in any society. Political debates are always overdrawn because each party wants to portray the other as an extremist. I don't think it's feasible, or it is actually anybody's case, that America would turn its back on the world. What America would say is, there is a world, if you are the number one power, you have to remain engaged with the world. But the terms you are offering to the world are going to be different from the terms which were there. And that, I think, is going to be the disruption, because the rest of the world has slid into a habit. Some are more habituated because they were closer to America. Some are less habituated like us because we didn't have the same intensity of ties or the extent of dependence or reliance which, say, allies in many cases had. So we are going to see in different domains US take up different kinds of positions, each one of which will have a global impact, and each one of it will be calculated for its global consequences. So it will be very global, it will be differently global. Its terms on offer would be significantly different.
During his first term, President Trump reset the relationship with China to a significant extent, and the next government, I think, the next administration carried that forward, especially in trade. Do you see more of that coming?
If you interpret the American political verdict as the electorate's disenchantment or unhappiness with the impact of globalization on them. Obviously, when you speak about globalization, you have to talk about China, because China has been the big beneficiary of 25 years of a certain model of globalization, to which in America the Clinton administration acquiesced in the first place. Now, so if you are saying, I'm not going to let my manufacturing be hollowed out more. If you are going to say, I'm going to have to deal with, competition on a fairer basis. If you are going to say, I'm going to rebuild my industry, obviously each one of these has consequences for US-China. And the dilemma of the US, I should also add, is not unique. I think a lot of other countries face their own versions of the dilemma, including us. a lot of our challenges, whether it is on trade, whether it is on FTA, whether it is on China, are not dissimilar. They're not identical, but they're not dissimilar.
Under the Biden administration, we saw three major breakthroughs as far as India was concerned. And I want to speak about each one of these in turn. One was a focus on critical and emerging technologies, and there seemed to be greater willingness from the US to share that. What is the future of ISET under Trump, in your opinion?
You know, again, it flows from what we had discussed. The United States obviously would be much more self-aware of its economic and manufacturing interests, because also the nature of technology links it to national security. So today, manufacturing, national technology, national security cannot be compartmentalized, okay? And that's part of the digital and AI revolution. Now, the US, big though it is, still needs global partners. It cannot do everything itself. It doesn't want to do everything itself. But it cannot be agnostic about where it is done also. You know, in a digital era, who has your data, what they do with it, are there angles to it which have security implications, is a very obvious consideration. So I think we have already, the logic of ISET is in different domains of high sensitivity to forge partnerships between countries, governments and societies which have a higher level of trust, where you actually relate to each other and therefore are comfortable with sourcing from there or outsourcing from there or partnering out there. I think you're going to see that as a structural trend. My own sense is if President Trump is determined to make America more competitive and brings to it a strong element of business viability, I think such an America will actually look for partners with whom it can actually work in a complementary fashion. So to my mind, the reworking of supply chains and the engineering of new digital chains, I think will continue.
Great. I think you've answered not just the first point I wanted to make, but the third question I wanted to ask you, because one of the other big changes we've seen is really the fact that the US sees India as an important partner when it comes to diversifying supply chains. The second change that we've seen in our relationship is that it seems to have moved from a buyer-seller relationship when it comes to defense to one that involves co-production, co-development. Do you see Trump's focus on manufacturing in the US, insistence on other countries buying American, leading to a clash of these objectives?
You know, forget Trump for a moment. I think we should be worrying about ourselves. You know, we didn't have the focus on manufacturing and make in India before. So why is this happening now? It is happening now because till a few years ago, we were content to import from outside. And in this country, I mean, let's be honest, we've actually made manufacturing very hard to do. So once it's because now the Make in India is getting traction and Make in India is also getting into the defense segment, that you are even asking this question. If you and I had sat here in 2013, you wouldn't have asked me this question. So the point is, look, today we are at a stage where it is absolutely essential that we expand our manufacturing. Without that manufacturing, we will not create that industrial culture. We will not be able to generate technologies of our own, and we will essentially end up as a market for other people. Now, my sense is, when you have a partner like India, if we are able to get things right, which means making it easier to do business, having the infrastructure, creating the technology institutions, encouraging the startups, improving the business and employment culture of this country, it makes us a worthwhile partner. If there is a worthwhile partner, the United States will be in a market for worthwhile partners. Again, to that extent, I come back to Trump. Trump is not against international partnerships. The best I understand Trump, he says, pay your fare as you go along. So we are a country which pays its fair share. If we are able to bring things to the table, there are obvious benefits for it for America as well.
I have many more questions, but we are out of time, but you have a flight to catch. Dr. Jaishankar, thank you very much.
Thank you.